On this planet, you will die. We have seen it.
That's right, we finally have a release date, along with some huge news, updates, and tons of information to go over. Not only did we get the release date being the 20th of May, 2025, we even get to play some Dune Awakening right now. You can jump onto Steam. Links are all in the description for everything, including the release trailer. But not only do we get the character creator, we get the option to pick probably arguably one of the most important decisions you make in Dune Awakening, and that is going to be your backgrounds, but more importantly, your class, which is probably going to have a huge impact onto your early and mid game. But we're going to go through a ton of information. So come along for the journey. Let's take a look at what we just got because we have so much to go through. So let's start from the top. So we just got the release trailer, and that goes through some absolutely stunning game footage, gives us some more insight into combat, vehicles, and a whole barrage of aspects to Dune Awakening. But most importantly, we get the release date. But along with this release date trailer, we get the character creator and the benchmark mode. It's worth noting that Dune Awakening is going to cost $49.99. I'm assuming that's US, so it's going to be adjusted accordingly to your region. And if you pre-order, they could be offering here something truly special, and that's your little desert mouse terrarium. However, it's only going to be truly epic if it is an animated desert mouse. If it's animated, this is going to be friggin' awesome and worthwhile. And people who don't get it will probably be regretting it. Because we've seen tons and tons of footage of this mouse within Dune Awakening game footage. So we know it's going to be in the game and running around. Having it on display in your base would be something fun. But my guess is it's probably just stationary. However, pre-ordering at $49.99 I think is very reasonable. It is worth noting that it is no longer an early release. I think originally it was going to be an early release, but now it's just going to be a full release on the 20th of May. And the last thing I just wanted to speak about for the release, if you do go in and do the character creator and benchmark, I believe if you do those two things, you will get an exclusive skin, the Frame Blade, which looks pretty epic. And just like Dragon's Dogma, creating your character anytime up until release is going to allow you to import your character into the full game when Dune Awakening launches on the 20th of May. So this is cool. So it's incentivizing us to go in, jump in, check it out. Good way to hype the game. It's awesome that we can save so much time creating our character now, not have to worry about it when the game goes live. But let's jump in. We'll start with the benchmark. Then we're going to quickly touch on the character creator. We're all very familiar with those. Then we're going to look at the most important decision you probably make in Dune Awakening, possibly, as well as what other bits and pieces we can get and throw out some claims and observation of the release trailer. So you can access the character creator and the benchmark mode just in Steam. Go into the Dune Awakening store page, downloading. Character creator is 17.13 gigabyte. Damn. So running the benchmark is going to be an excellent way to get a gauge of how your system's going to perform within all the various different regions within Dune Awakening. The scenery is stunning, and I'm guessing aspects of this are going to be taken from within the game, or this is just specifically curated for the benchmark. But having a 4090, I got extremely reasonable results. I did get quite a bit of frame drop in certain transitions, but I must say the game looks absolutely stunning. But I highly recommend going in and running this. One, it's going to give you some clues and insights into the game, what it's actually going to look like, what are elements, what are some of the bases going to look like, what are some of the terrain, the ornithopter. One of the other areas that it loads you into is one of the major cities or areas within the game, full of NPCs, shop fronts. And by the looks of it, this is quite a hit to your FPS, as mine was substantially lower in this environment, still holding up quite nicely, but it certainly gives a good idea of what we can expect of some of the more populated areas. Final environment, it looks very different to the others. It has the worm, you're out in the desert. And I mean, it's worth just running the benchmarks just to see the epic footage because it looks amazing. But looking at my scores, you can see a huge drop in Harco Village. I'm guessing that's where we were. And then Sandworm emerges. And this is with most of the settings on high or ultra. We still don't have the minimum or recommended requirements for Dune Awakening, so that's worth noting. However, it looks like it's going to be requiring quite a beefy machine, at least in this observation, so that's going to be something to take note. But let me know how your PC went. Did it smash it? What are your PC specs? And how did it perform? Hopefully with a few different comments from different systems will give us a good understanding of what the minimum requirements will be. After running the benchmark, creating a character, this is where we'll get the Frame Blade skin. we'll be able to apply this to a certain knife, I'm assuming. It looks pretty wild, but that's how you'll get the skin in the end. And I've been mucking around with the character creator for quite some time. Just going to highlight a couple aspects. I don't think it's in the same league as the Dragon's Dogma character creator, but it's certainly up there. It does have a lot of customization. So jumping in with the character creator, how does it stack up? Well, we actually get some insights into running through as if you were starting the real game. Greeted by the Reverend Mother, and here we are introduced to the character creator. Comes along with some pretty nice presets, and just flicking through some of those now just to give you a little bit of an insight, some idea, some nice looking characters. I don't know about this guy. Look at that blue beard. Classic. You got some very attractive girls right here. That looks awesome. Got the older dude and some really great presets here that you can pick and then build off these. And then you've got more of the Harkonnen sort of look, which is pretty awesome to see that we can go to that extent and level of detail. Obviously, there is a huge focus of Harkonnen versus Atreides, so it's nice to see that we can go and pick. But let's start with this pre-build, and here we can adjust the height as you would expect. You can become quite a giant, arms thick, very thick, and we can zoom into a crazy amount of detail here. It is a little bit reflective with the white skin, must say. I don't have a reshade on, but check this out, how far you can zoom in. We can see the eyes, and the eyes are actually pretty stunning in this character creator. But zooming out, trying to get some of that sunlight off, maybe we'll just change the tone of skin. But going through this, we can get the leg size to be giant stumps of legs to all the way to some super skinny ones, or the classic neck length. And obviously you can push out the chest. Now, for you ladies, if you're interested, I'll just show you what the, and I guess guys too, if we go to the chest size, it kind of does exactly the same on the dudes as girls. It's not as defining. It's kind of like a broad stroke. You can see here, we can go quite flat to kind of push out a bit more, but it is naught is, what would you say, plump? If we just quickly compare that to another preset of a dude, it is pretty much the same thing. Just pushes the chest out, pretty much like a global thing. But anyway, that's just to give you an idea of that. Okay, so I was completely wrong there. You can actually toggle the attire on and off, and this will give a much better representation. So it's actually pretty decent, my bad. And you can do the toggle attire for both the male and the female. So we'll just do it with the male. So you can toggle it off, and then you can buff up that chest size. So there you go. Just wanted to make sure I covered that because that was a mistake on my part. Oh, and I nearly forgot. Here is a front on for the chest, and this is just a slider. So covering all the important bits. Unfortunately, there is none for the behind, but at least we can make fairly attractive girls, characters. So that's a tick in my box, at least for this aspect, because we can not zoom in to where I'd like to, but you can zoom right into the face. Hey, how you doing? So the skin tone, we can change all the skin color. Here we have that crazy white, which will just flick to a more of a brown, but we're still getting that crazy glow. But zooming in, we can add some vitiligo, which is a chronic autoimmune disease, but we can even add that in here, which is just like some pigmentation of the skin. It is rather impressive how close we can zoom in, but here we can change how intense that is, as well as the freckle density, adding in a ton of extra freckles. So you can really customize the look to being very unique. We'll just quickly play through the voices here. So you get the feminine on the right, and as you go to the left, you get the deeper male sound and voices. So that's covering pretty much all your standard, more global aspects to the character creator. Then we can zone into the face. The head detail is where you can really zone in and really get that defining jaw and facial features. And just checking out the eye color, because the eyes in this look quite realistic to me, and you can really customize the eye color, and that looks awesome. And then we can also go through and really refine the details. So we have a tons of customization here, making our pupil irises different sizes so we can look like we're crazy high on spice all the time. You have a bit of a squint, make your eyes wide, angle them as well. Moving on to the next tab, we have the hair color or hairstyle. And looking at some of these various ones, I'll just run through some of these so you can see what they're like. And cool thing is that we can zoom right in and give them a whirl. And just picking a couple at random, you can get a good idea of the different looks. But there is quite a lot to choose from, various different styles. So surely something to pick to your liking. But how can we adjust this? And is it any good for customizing the hair further? Well, let's go a Fabio look right here, and then change the hair color. So looking at the hair color, you got quite a good option, range and spread. We'll be able to tweak these to our heart's content, but you get the idea, lots of range there. Eye style, excellent amount of choices there. And then you can go in and actually change all the various colors of the hair and individual components. Eyebrow depth and height, all the usual suspects. Beards, quite a lot of different beards, which is excellent to see. And then you'll be able to also change that color to be more suiting to your character. When it comes to tattoos, we can apply a few different types of tattoos, mainly and only predominantly on the face. So not a huge amount of customization there. You don't really ever have your clothes off on Arrakis. It makes sense. We're only going to be seeing these on our head. Finally, when it comes to the eyes, this is where you can do a lot of the touch-ups or makeup. So you can have eye makeup if you want, muck around with the color of the makeup. Then you have your lipstick. But you can see it's quite a robust character creator, but you will be interfacing and interacting with tons of people. So having a cool character look is going to be wicked. So you'll be able to choose your character's background. What does this mean? Well, this is going to affect how they interact with people of Arrakis, giving you different dialogue options depending on who you are. So for instance, if we would have chose Caladan, the homeworld of Atreides, this would influence certain conversations and dialogue where you've come from a planet that's basically covered in water or a lot of water, lots of treaties, quite a high house within the Dune universe. So you'll be able to provide information about your home planet within some of the dialogues exchange. But the main thing is, if we continue on and click Caladan, following along, then we get to pick our caste or where we sort of sit socially on the hierarchy within the Dune universe. So in this case, the bondsmen occupy the planetary middle class. They are free individuals serving either a house mine, enjoy the privileges of nobility. Basically, it's your citizen class. They're integral to administration and daily operations within the house domain. The Na Familia comprises of individuals who, while not blood relatives, have been integrated into a noble household due to exceptional skill or loyalty. They are granted certain privileges and protections, reflecting their esteemed status within the household, often serving critical roles such as advisory, military leaders, or specialists. The peon, as you would expect, this is basically your base class. Within the Far-Felucious system, which is the caste system, peons function as planet-based peasants or laborers. But this just gives you an insight in terms of what you can select. And obviously, being Dune, there's going to be a ton of background information, and we're going to go through all of these in a separate video. But that just gives you a kind of an idea of some of the meaning. So the two decisions we've just made. The next one is by far probably the most important, as this is going to determine our starting skills. What class are we going to be when we start the game? We have the Swordmaster, the Bene Gesserit Acolyte, you have the Mentats, and the Trooper. So this is going to be by far the most important choice. So what we can gather from this is all the different classes will have different ability or abilities. And the Swordmaster is going to be perfect for melee. We've seen within the footage that there's knives at least. We all know that the slow blade penetrates the shield. So this will probably be a highly effective class at combat, with the starting ability being deflection. Enter a defensive stance to deflect dart attacks. So we know there's going to be some kind of weapons or guns, and perhaps those fire the darts. And looking at the other classes, they're all going to have their own strengths and weaknesses, but we're going to cover this more in a separate video where we speculate and gather all the information that we have available to look at these classes. Now, from my testing, it doesn't look like we can create multiple characters, and once we've created one, we can't go back and edit it. So there is very limited functionality in terms of changing your mind. You will have to create a new character, at least from what I've observed. But there you have it. There's the character creator and the benchmark, and some really cool insights into Dune Awakening. I was going to go into the info we can squeeze out of the release trailer, but we'll do that in another video as well. This one's already quite lengthy. Thanks very much for watching. We're covering a ton more Dune Awakening content. So if you get anything out of this, consider liking, subscribing. Goes a long way. Peace.